Hi everyone. Have you ever tried to say no to something, maybe at work, maybe with a friend, and instead of just saying no, you launched into this whole explanation? You listed every reason, every conflict, everything you had going on, every excuse you could think of, just to justify one simple no. Nobody asked for all of that information, but your nervous system was already in damage control before the words even left your mouth. That is not a confidence problem. That is not a boundary script problem. That is a nervous system problem. And those require a completely different solution. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what is happening in your body when you try to set a boundary, why the scripts and the just say no advice has never worked for women like you, and what actually changes. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I work with self aware, high functioning women to break self abandonment patterns at the nervous system level. And I want to start this video with something I call the one woman show because I have done it, and my clients have done it, and I'm willing to bet you have done it too. So, what is the one woman show? Nobody asked for all the information. Here's what the one woman show looks like when someone asks you to do something on a Sunday. And I have coined this phrase. This is something I would say about myself because this is how much I would do it before I worked on this pattern. So let's say someone says to you, "Hey, can you look after my child on a Sunday?" And you want to say no. You want to say no, but instead of just saying no, you say something like, "Oh, I would love to this Sunday, but it's really busy and we have the kids' activities and I have just been so exhausted lately. And then I'm going here at 2 o'clock and then I'm going here at 3 o'clock and I have to run. And my youngest has this thing on and I think he might be developing a cold and maybe next time. And I'm so sorry." And does that sound familiar? Okay, this was what would happen to me all the time. And I see it in my clients. So here's what I want you to notice about that. Nobody asked for this list. Nobody asked for the explanation. Nobody needed to know about your kids' activities or how tired you've been. Nobody asked for tickets to the one woman show. But your nervous system was already 3 steps ahead of you. So it was already in damage control mode, already trying to prove that you are still a good person, even though you're about to disappoint someone. Notice that? So even though you were saying no, you wanted to prove that you're still a good person, that you're still likable, you're still worthy of love, and you didn't want to disappoint them. That's not you being bad at boundaries. That's your nervous system doing what it learned to do. And it learned to manage other people's reactions before they even happened. You're trying to keep the peace because you want to stay safe. If somebody doesn't like you, that means you're not lovable. I used to do this constantly. And at some point I realized something. I do not owe anyone an explanation for my no. I can just say no and it is full stop, period, done. Just know it doesn't work for me. That's what I say now. When somebody asks me for something, I just say, check in with myself. And is that something that I can offer? And if my body says, heck no, I listen to it, think on it, and then, I say, no, that actually doesn't work for me. And I leave it there. 5 words. No list, no apology, no one woman show anymore. And that felt absolutely terrifying the first time I did it. Because what I want you to know is that as soon as you try this, you're going to feel really uncomfortable. But I want you to remember something. A situation is only as uncomfortable as you make it. So when you're in this situation and you're going and you're repatterning, and your body wants to go back to that default pattern of being the one woman show, you need to allow yourself to sit with it and say, I don't need to manage this person's reaction. I can be strong in my no, and it's okay if I feel uncomfortable, because your body's going to want to automatically bring you back to comfort. And doing the one woman show and soothing and managing the other person's disappointment is what's comfortable. So you have to sit in the discomfort. So something else I want to point out is your throat might be trying to tell you something. And I've seen this so many times when I do energy healing. So especially women feel boundaries in their bodies, right? Where everything happens, and I can link the video below. Our bodies are going to be communicating to us first about what's happening, and then our mind will catch up and usually try to comfort us, try to direct us to that default program. So we want to really listen to our bodies. But for women, and I've noticed this with past life wounds, and wounds in this lifetime where the throat chakra, there's a hard time speaking our truth, setting boundaries, feeling like we're heard and understood. So I really want you to pay attention to your throat. Notice if, and I love it when I work with clients and when we work on the throat chakra and all of a sudden they start coughing, right? So it's clearing, it's showing us, it's activating, things are starting to happen. I really want you to pay attention to your throat. Does it feel like it's constricted? Does it feel like you need to have some water? How does it feel when you're trying these boundaries out or even just thinking about it? And this is something I see so much in clients. But when you are about to say no or hold a limit or disappoint someone, like I said, does your throat tighten? Your voice gets smaller. Sometimes the words just don't come out at all, and this isn't random. The throat is where we speak our truth. And for women who have spent years learning that speaking their truth was not safe, that disagreeing meant rejection, that disappointing someone meant losing connection, the throat becomes the place where the survival response shows up most strongly. So when you try to use a boundary, just remember in that moment, when you try to just say the words you practice, your throat might already be in shutdown mode. So it's just being aware, trying to tune into those body signals. And the body feels, when the body feels safe enough to speak, the words are not going to come out the way you want them to. It's not going to sound fantastic, right? And you can work on, what you want to say in a situation, and you can script it, but it's never going to sound exactly like the script, and it's never going to flow exactly like the script. But if it makes your body feel safer and better, you can try writing it out and just running through it. So when my clients are working on boundaries in a professional setting, I ask them to think of a male colleague. Many of my clients work in very male-dominated workplaces, and someone they work with that they respect, and I ask them, if he said no to taking on an extra project or declined a meeting or held a limit around his time, what would you think of him? And we will have just worked on this boundary with my client who's female. And right away, when it's about her putting that boundary up, she says, oh my gosh, I could never do that. I can't even imagine me saying that. I'm afraid people would think I was mean, or that I was a jerk, or that I wasn't working as a team. And so then I flip it and I think about someone who's male that's in their work environment, and I ask them the same thing. And right away, every single time, my clients say, I would think he was being professional, that he was setting boundaries, and that he was good at his job. So then I ask, why is this different when you do the same thing? And that question lands hard because they know the answer. It's not different. The action is identical. The only thing that's different is whose body it is happening in, and the story that body has been told about what it means for a woman to take up space, hold a limit, or say no. Women have been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish, that holding a boundary is unkind, that prioritizing themselves makes them difficult or mean, and that conditioning lives in the nervous system. It's not just a belief you can think your way out of. It's a survival pattern that needs to be worked with at the level where it actually lives. So this is something I'm going to teach you, which is called the pause. So, what does actually working with it look like? It starts with learning to recognize the physical signal your body sends before the one woman show begins. So for me, when I'm about to do the one woman show, I can feel a tightening in my chest. I can feel the anxiety building from my stomach and coming to my chest. And then I'm starting to feel it in my throat, the tightening in my throat. My voice goes small. I can feel my heart speeding up. I can feel myself starting to panic. So that signal is your nervous system shifting into survival mode. And when you learn to catch it, when you can feel it happening in real time, you create a pause that did not exist. And what's really interesting is, since I've worked on this for years with myself, those signals happen, but not as dominantly, because I'm quicker at noticing, oh, that doesn't feel right. My intuition is really strong. It's a muscle. And so I know right away when somebody asks me of something, and I know immediately if it feels good in my body or not. So in that pause, there's a moment of choice. That's why I'm calling it the pause, because there's this moment where you're being asked of something and you can pause for a second instead of having that knee-jerk reaction where you're trying to please the other person. So this is a really big moment where you can take a breath and just enough space to ask yourself what you actually want to say. Sometimes when I'm working with people on this boundary, what I ask them to do is to take 24 hours or say, I'll get back to you later. Can I get back to you on that? I need to check my schedule. Things like that are really helpful to create a longer pause so that you can learn to listen to your body. So that's where the one woman show stops getting a standing ovation. That's where no, that does not work for me becomes possible. I call this the redirect in my work, and it's a 3-step process that happens in real time in the body, and it's a learnable skill. And I will link more information in the description if you want to go deeper on this. But if you recognize yourself in the one woman show, if you've been over explaining and apologizing your way through every no, I want you to hear this. You are not bad at boundaries. You are not too sensitive. You are the woman whose nervous system learned that keeping others comfortable kept you safe. And that pattern has a name, and it can change. The starting point is understanding which specific self-abandonment pattern is most active for you, because there are 6 self-abandonment patterns. And for some women, it's over-explaining is the primary pattern. And for others, it's completely different. But I created a free quiz called the Self-Abandonment Pattern Decoder. It takes 3 minutes, and it will show you exactly which of the 6 survival patterns is running your life right now. The link is in the description. And until next time, remember that you matter too.